That is highly illegal, and it's misappropriation of funds. There's a number of things that are wrong. Now, I'm going to put this email up because I think it's important that the community knows when Sandy Weiner is dragged out into the courts, she's asking for documentation. This is some of it.
Is that thing running?
It is.
Oh my God. It must be Monday morning.
It is.
Welcome back to Talking Racine. I'm Dr. Ken Jorgen, as far as I can remember. I've been Dr. Ken Jorgen all my life, and George Myers, I think you've been George Myers for quite a while yourself.
Yeah, good.
Jim Spodek?
No, I've changed it a few times.
Have you? Yeah. I don't even want to ask what some of the original ones were. Well, we got a show here for you this morning. The first thing we're going to talk about, we got like 3 items on the menu. First thing we're going to talk about is the fact that I am running for Congress, which I think probably most of you out there in the audience know. And there are some debates scheduled between myself, an independent candidate, well, there's one debate scheduled between myself, an independent candidate, plus the Democrat and the Republican. And there's another one that's being held in Janesville, to which I have not been invited.
Funniest thing.
Yeah.
Now, we're not complaining here.
No.
We are revealing, because we fully expected this kind of thing to happen. We fully expected that the Democratic and the Republican machine, which we view as one, would do everything that they could to keep an independent voice out of the debates, out of the election as much as possible. And sure enough, that's what's going on. Now, the debate out in Janesville is sponsored by, or hosted by, I should say, the Janesville Gazette and 2 radio stations out in that area. And even though I've been invited to participate in the debate in Kenosha at Carthage College on the 23rd of October at 7 p.m., which I would invite you all to attend and encourage you to do so, I have not been invited to the one in Janesville. And also, you know, there was an article in the Journal Times and the Kenosha News just the last couple of days.
Right.
And they highlighted some stories. They highlighted some of the positions for the Democratic candidate and the Republican candidate.
Nothing for you.
No mention of any of my positions on anything. And we even sent them a copy of this, The Independent Voice, which is a campaign tabloid that we printed up. And I spent a lot of time, you know, thinking about this and
a lot of good stuff
and
in
writing
there.
all this stuff
That's
up.
one of the most comprehensive campaign pieces I've ever seen.
But apparently they didn't have any idea what my positions were on anything, so they didn't include them. Anyway, again, not complaining, just revealing. You got to know what's going on with these campaigns and with these elections, people. Most people in the United States, I shouldn't say most people, the largest block of voters, 40 to 49%, when they're asked, well, how do you identify yourself? Most, again, I said it wrong. The largest block, 40 to 49% will say I'm independent. And less than 30% each will identify themselves as either Republican or Democrat. And yet the person who is running as an independent is being largely ignored by the media, at least out in the...
That's pretty amazing. And you're on the ballot, too, by
Yes,
the way.
I was on the ballot before...
You
know, one of the things
before the Republicans and Democrats decided who they were going to run against me,
well,
I was already on the ballot.
Right. And I'd like to just, I think that you're actually doing very well. And there's a lot of good response for an independent in that. I mean, you've got Beaver Cleaver for the Republicans, and you've got the
Jerry Springer show.
Yeah, for the Democrats. And, you know, and you, Dr. Jorgen, kind of falls in the middle. And good response, and this piece has been out to a lot of places, and it continues to go out. So, you know, to be shunned by the media, I would say, and
look for a copy of this, The Independent Voice.
Right, and it really does.
We're throwing them all over the place. So look for a copy of it. It lays it out pretty much what my values are, which I think I share with a lot of you, and what my positions are on some of the very, very important issues of the day. I mean, for example, guns, the Second Amendment, and abortion. I mean, I list those as the great divide.
Right.
And talk about my position, which I think is very rational, and I believe you will too. But anyway, go ahead and look at that. Show up Tuesday, October 23rd at 7 p.m. at Carthage College. We would love to have you there. We would love to have you witness this grand debate that's taking place. So much for the shameless self-promotion. We're going to move on now to some information about Machinery Row.
A surprise.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things we're actually going to talk about the budget today.
Well, let's do that first.
Well, let's talk about this because you know I think budgets.
Budget we could go on forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll do this because this is relatively limited. But then
let's catch you while you're awake. Okay, let's talk about that.
One of this was on we had a post. I think it was episode 91, and this was on the Facebook as a posting by Rick Olson. Who was an owner of one of the buildings, one of multiple buildings,
a few buildings.
At Machinery Row. Now, Rick writes in this, now this is after the Sandy Widener contempt hearing was taking place, and I believe probably Rick has been watching it closely. And you know, I just want to kind of, you can go to episode 91 on Facebook and pull it up, but I'm going to read just a little bit.
Well, he just wrote this.
He wrote this, yeah,
and this is really a good summation of a lot.
And I'm going to actually hook it up
to
the website, and I'll put this on after again. So if you just go to the website, you can pick it up. But when we talk about this contempt charge on Sandy Widener, and we talk about why emails are being held secretly and court is held secretly, I think there's some things here that he exposes that will kind of shed some light on it. And I'm just going to kind of go back.
It's why they want to keep it secret.
Yeah,
is what
exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, why are we going through all this masking of information, public information? Because I think there's some things that are wrong. And here I'm just going to kind of go back into this. It says, he says, Letney orchestrated a city loan to Blackwell, who was the purchaser, without any down payment or additional collateral, but secretly held a title in lieu agreement that was not disclosed to the public when the loan was made. Open records, public needs a forensic audit of all emails involving Letney hidden secrets to expose the hidden patterns and practice of facilitating corruption.
Well, I think we need to re-emphasize for people that Scott Letney is the city attorney.
Correct.
I mean, some people lose track of the
Right.
people that are here. And when he talks about a title in lieu of, it's in lieu of foreclosure agreement.
Right. He had signed over that.
Yeah, a title in lieu of foreclosure agreement.
Right. He says in the beginning, take Machinery Row, for example. Letney knew it was a public sale. Letney knew the public loan included an undisclosed escrow to refund Blackwell for his project expenses. Blackwell had put some money up front. He got it back when it was closed. Now, I just want to go back into an email that also came from Rick.
And just to give a flashback, Blackwell was the private developer that they had brought in.
Correct, and I'm going to put this.
To run
this
project.
up too. But this is from. This was from at the time. Judley Wyatt was an attorney representing Olson, and this email was sent to his attorney Wyatt, and it says Rodney, who was Blackwell, agreed to give up the $70,000 in roof repair. Apparently, now you have to remember this is the day before closing. This is December 30th. Of 2014. So they were going to close apparently at the very last minute. A lot of times that's what happens at closing. You're trying to stab the seller, and you try to get as much as you can out of them at the very end, which is somewhat unethical, but it's done. And he was asking for $70,000 in roof repair. He says, please agree to give up the $70,000. So what Rodney said is, okay, I won't ask for the $70,000. But it says, please get me a revised closing statement and documents as soon as you can. We will need to speak to Elaine to see if the city is comfortable with lowering the purchase price to $1.35 million, but keeping the loan amount at $1.5 to fund the reserve.
And again, going back to who the players are, Elaine is Elaine Eakes.
Eakes.
Yeah.
And she was hired by the city under Letney or Weber,
Letney,
but Weber was kind of out of the game here. But I mean, they all knew it. And Elaine, and really what's happening here is that attorney for Rodney, who is a straw man, and everybody knows he is at this closing, to cover himself and say, are they comfortable with
what we're doing is very shady act that we're doing.
Yeah.
He's asking that because he knows this is very unusual, that the lender would be lending more money than what the property is being sold for.
Yeah, exactly.
That's very strange.
And here's my question.
This is just one property of
One out
the
of
whole complex.
Yeah.
Right. There's $150,000 missing. I mean, it went into an escrow account,
Yeah.
and we do know where some of that money went. But the idea is the Common Council, the RDA, agreed to loan $1.5 million to purchase this building. At closing, 1.35 is actual cost. So there's $150,000. That is highly illegal, and it's misappropriation of funds. There's a number of things that are wrong. Now I'm going to put this email up because I think it's important that the community knows when Sandy Weiner is dragged out into the courts, she's asking for documentation. This is some of it, and I think that.
Well, she was the first one to break it open on the floor of the city council.
Right, and they want to keep it quiet, for obvious reasons. But another question I have is, where are the other aldermen? This is you were basically taken and misappropriated funds. I don't know how else you put it.
Yeah. In their defense, most of them did not understand it. I remember when Sandy came out; she was the first one to come out with this, and it was truly unusual. And then she stated in that that display.
Well, she was kind of expressing astonishment that this had been done.
And she felt like we weren't going to get what we want to out of Rodney Blackwell.
Right.
In the bottom line,
we never were. Rodney Blackwell was never going to be the developer.
And it turns out that she was perfectly right in that suspicion because, well, it was never set up that he was going to actually develop that property. This was a whole scheme of getting it under the city's control. It's just really, really strange. But we definitely don't want this coming out, so Sandy Weiner was forced into secrecy on it and ultimately held in contempt.
Right. Well, this is because she asked for information, and of course, she couldn't get the information.
Well, this is one issue. I mean, they're trying to shut her up about it.
Now, this is just part of it.
Right.
Yeah.
This is just
a lot more documents.
Probably many.
Yeah.
But we do have that, and we want to expose it so people can get an idea what's actually happened at Machinery Row. Now we're $7 million into the hole here. It's all, I don't care how you want to claim it to be development money and Mount Pleasant and Caledonia playing into this. $7 million that should be taxpayers to the benefit of taxpayers, and it is not.
Hey, maybe Foxconn will want it.
I wonder what the hell that's going to be like. I mean, if you can't get the decency and be honest at this level, what the hell do you think is going to happen with Foxconn?
Yeah.
It needs, and if you read Olson, he talks about cleansing the community, and it needs to be cleansed. It's just the way I feel, and I think a lot of people feel that.
Well, I agree with you, and George, I'm sure you do too.
Yeah. No, he makes a statement right at the end. He said, "Heck, with improved ethics and openness in government, maybe Sandy Weiner would even be the mayor of Racine."
And then he goes on to say, "Perhaps it will take the unearthing of the criminal complaint number 17-00217 filed with Racine County Sheriff's Office by Dennis Monte on April 2nd of 2017 to cleanse politics in Racine." That complaint has been sitting there since April of 2017.
How far is this going?
Now October of 2018.
Right.
And they can't find the complaint.
That's
or what they don't
Sheriff
know what to
Schmeling, the police chief, Howell. I mean, law enforcement, they just can't seem to find the money at Machinery Row. They can't seem to find the individuals who created this. But they can sure find some kid on the corner that's, got a bag of marijuana in his pocket.
No, they're dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is where we're at. So when we talk about, Corey Mason knows damn well of everything that's going on here. So don't think for 1 minute they don't, because I believe Corey Mason knew about the $9 million tax credit and lied to the Common Council when he was there, talking about the $9 million. So there's an awful lot to uncover here, and I give Sandy a lot of credit for hanging in there and paying out of her own pocket to go in and
for legal representation,
to legally come and do
stuff,
what should be done by your administration now.
But your administration is covering up the problem that they created. So
I mean, it's deep. It's very deep, and we're going to keep on it.
Yeah.
Sandy Widener, by the way, she got a GoFundMe.
She
site
does.
now?
She got a
Okay.
GoFundMe page, and we're going to put it up because, I mean,
Yeah, let's give her a hand. I mean, she's
Yeah.
doing this for all of us. You know,
Well, and
because
Sandy
she-
is the kind of person, I think if she actually prevails in this, which she should, 100% she should, if she does, and people have donated a significant amount of money to that fund, I would not be surprised to see
They get it
Sandy,
back, yeah.
refund it
Oh yeah,
to them.
yeah.
So,
All right, we'll keep
exciting
up.
things going on in the city. Continues to.
Now, speaking of Corey Mason,
You know,
Mayor Corey Mason, he came out with his budget
new budget.
for 2019. And George, I know, I don't know what keeps you awake while you read this stuff. I mean, I look through it, my eyes glaze over, and my amygdala tells my oblongata to stop functioning. But you managed to somehow wade your way through a lot of this stuff.
Well, it's interesting stuff, and when you're looking for particular things, it's not the type of budget that's. I mean, it took me a long time before I really learned how to read this budget. You know,
Well, it's
I've been
much
through a
more
lot of them.
difficult than Kenosha's budget. I know we've talked
Oh,
about that
well, that's
before,
our capital improvements program. That we're not addressing that, but that when that comes out, we're definitely going to want to look at that.
Yeah.
'Cause that's where
Yep.
the big money can be saved. But in this, I mean, one of the things that jumps out at me is right at the front of the budget. It's actually page 9. It's a little into the budget a little bit, but they give it a
When you're
list of
talking about the number of pages that are in the darn thing, 9 is like
Yeah,
front
it's
end.
right at the beginning. Yeah, I think there's 270 pages, something like that. But the City of Racine administrative managers. And, we have I'm just going to read to it real quickly. A city administrator, city attorney, city development, city librarian, finance treasurer, a fire department, information technology, municipal judge, parks and recreation and cultural services, police department, public health, public work, water and wastewater and utilities. Each one of those is a separate department.
Yep.
13 departments. That's called, folks, a bureaucracy.
I think we need the
And those things
Department
are
of
darned
Redundancy.
expensive.
Yeah.
We need the Department of Redundancy.
Yeah. and you look at that, and now you can begin to, if you lose that a basis, now as you look through the budget, each one of these departments kind of gets itemized, and you can start to look through it and find out what the costs are. And if you look at it in that regards, then it can make some sense out of it.
Yep.
And one of the first things I always am interested in is the tax levy and the public debt.
Mm-hmm.
Those are two important things. And the tax levy is a certain amount, and there's a chart in there on the tax levy, and as usual, it is going up slightly. There's supposed to be let me see if I can
I
pull
thought it
that.
was going down.
Yeah, well, there's supposed to be a cap on the tax levy, but nevertheless, it doesn't get enforced very well.
Pretty colors.
But this is a copy of it. You might want to flash it up on the screen, Jim. But you see it goes up considerably here. Oh, this is a 10-year thing, and 10 years ago now you can see it's going up pretty steadily. And then actually, when you get up to the top here, the last 2 years have been pretty careful. But that tax levy is $54 million. All right, now that's what you are taxed.
That's just property tax.
That's
Anybody
property
who owns
tax,
property is
right.
paying a portion of that.
Right, and if you start to go through the budget, thing always would confuse me because I'd see it would show the city expenditures, and that's 82 million. And I said, wait a second, how can the tax levy be 54, but the expenditures are 82 million? All right, and those are some basic, those are some very simple figures that you can go in and look at. You see the tax levy going up and the amount of spending is going up. And how can that happen when there's a freeze on tax increases by the governor, by the state? And
Well, there is a way that tax increases are allowed, and that is what?
if they're going to cover debt payments. So if you want to pay a little extra on the debt,
Well,
that works.
if you want to raise taxes, you increase your debt.
well, yeah.
Basically.
Well, yes, that's the way it's misused.
Yeah.
It was meant to be so that if a city wanted to raise a little extra money in order to pay off some of their debt, they had that that outlet to do it. Well, the way the city of Racine works it is they put more things into the debt. In other words, they borrow money to pay things they used to spend for out of the debt, go further into debt. Now they can increase taxes to cover those things.
It's like putting your debt on a credit card and just saying, "Hey, I got some extra money now."
Now I can demand more money from the taxpayers because I have to pay off this credit card.
Right.
That normally wouldn't. And if you look at the top of this chart, the red, you notice that part is growing.
That's your debt.
That's your debt service. See, so that's the amount that you can do the taxes. If you look at the blue part, that stays pretty level. That's your expenditures. See, but the red, it goes up because the red part increases so much, and that's because we put more onto the credit card.
Well, now, if the red part was growing, it wouldn't be so bad if the red part indicated that the blue part was getting lower.
Well, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
What it should do is the whole thing should stay level.
Right.
And then if the red part grows, that means that we really are paying off the
paying
debt,
off debt, but we're not paying off any debt. No.
But it's
Well,
not.
It could mean that, but it's not meaning it on a.
Well,
on the
okay.
chart, it shows
all right,
how
all right.
it's happening.
We're not paying off anything. Where are we spending it?
And that's where it gets to be fun. Now there, when you
got a
look
weird
at the budget
idea of
document,
fun, George.
Right. Well, it gets interesting. I mean, because the budget is actually broken down by department, and once you see that, I've given you the list of the departments. You know, that was the 13 departments, the bureaucracy, and you can go in and you can pull them up.
Well, we got a few of them right here. We got
Yeah.
the mayor's office, the city engineering department, and the city attorney office.
Yeah.
Let's start with the mayor.
Well, you want to start with the mayor? Yeah, because actually there's an increase in personnel there. We're going from 3 full-time employees to 5 next year.
Right. And if you when you pull up the mayor's office, it's page 25 of the budget document. And if you were to go and look at it, you have these columns of numbers, and they represent different periods of time. The first column is 2017. Okay, that's 2 years ago. The last column is 2019, and that is the proposed budget. All right?
Mm-hmm.
The 3 in between are all labeled 2018. All right? And what they represent, the first column, is the budget. In other words, what did we propose to spend in 2018? The middle one says what we spent halfway through. Actually, it's a little bit more than halfway through. It used to be halfway through. Now it's the end of July. How much have we spent so far? All right? And then the last one says how much we think we're going to spend that last 5 months.
Right.
All right. So that's what those 3 columns. Those are your 5 columns, and now what you can do if you want to, is you can compare those columns, 2017 with 2018 with 2019. All right. Are we keep? Is that simple enough?
I think what you're doing is you're leading us to this tells a story kind of a phrase.
That type of thing.
Yeah. Okay.
And so we look at the bottom line. It goes through and it shows what it costs for mileage, so much to pay for mileage, so much for healthcare services, other work supplies, a whole bunch of things down here, maybe 20 different different budgetary items that explain how the mayor's office spent its money. And at the bottom line, it shows the total amount spent. And if we go back to 2017, I'll just give you some round numbers. It's a little less than $500,000, $467,000. That's 2017.
Well, this is just the mayor's office.
This is just the mayor's office, right. Mm-hmm. Then we go to the 2018 estimate, which it looks like what it's going to spend. It actually dropped a little. It went from $467,000 down to $460,000.
Mm-hmm.
And then we look at the last line, which is a bit of a surprise. 2019, it suddenly jumps up to $736,000.
Which is a
60% increase.
62%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Increase.
62% increase in the mayor's office.
In the mayor's budget.
Budget office.
And so now you can start saying, well, why is that? And one of the things we've discussed in the past, I think Talking Racine goes back into the summer where there was talk about mayor needed some new assistant, he needed a communicator, needed some assistance.
Well, he actually took money from, I believe it was 900 for jobs that were going to go to the county, and he actually hired an individual and then funneled him over to the county through the jobs 925. So yeah, it was a job, but it was a job for him. And now he's coming back on board and is going to be paid for by the city this year.
Right.
With an additional person.
The piper has come for his money.
Exactly.
Pay the piper.
Yes.
Exactly.
So that's and rather than just go through the budget piecemeal, if you ever pull it up, which it's on the city website, you can pull it up, you can download it on your computer, and then you start with those departments and which one are you interested in. And if you're interested in the mayor's office, you can do that one.
Okay, so the mayor goes from 3 positions, which would be
mayor, administrator, and
a
secretary,
I suppose, or someone. And then now he's going to five positions.
What are the
communication coordinator and a strategic initiatives community partnership office staff member.
Now, where are you getting that information from?
Wait, George. Read that last one again.
Okay, a communications coordinator and a strategic initiatives community partnership office staff member.
Now, if you don't know what the hell that means, you're not alone.
Here's the thing. You're increasing it 250,000, maybe 270,000. Adding 2 people. Why? I mean, why?
Yeah.
I mean, you need 5 people in that office? Now, here's a question. Are they going to get rid of the city administrator? Is that the plan here? I mean, why?
They're certainly not announcing it.
No.
No, I don't think there's any plan for that.
Well, how do you
in fact, that one the communicator is pretty obvious. He wants to.
Well, you got a secretary. What is she doing?
Yeah. Well.
I mean,
yeah. She might be.
Well, it's
anyway. The point is you got to communicate. Yeah, and the other one is
Corey. You could write one of these.
Yeah.
Put out a newspaper every 6 months or something.
The other one is probably is dealing with other community groups, and figure how we're going to work with them to improve the community. It's something along those lines. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Whereas the city administrator, his job is more internal. Okay.
The mayor is the chief executive officer.
It'd be nice if they were going to get rid of the city administrator. Yeah. I just don't anticipate it. I think it's. Yeah. Go ahead, Jim.
The mayor, and this is out of the budget. The mayor is the chief executive of the city and the city administrator is chief operating officer of the city. The office is responsible to see that state statutes, city ordinances are observed and enforced, and that the officers and departments of the city discharge their respective duties. The mayor and the city administrator.
Hold on a second, because there's something. It's worded a little bit funny. The mayor is the chief executive of the city,
right?
And the city administrator is the chief operating officer of the city.
Right.
All right. So I mean,
so mayor's a glad hand.
The executive, yeah, the executive. I'm the executive,
right?
And you're going to make sure things run right.
Right. You're the guy that's going to do the work.
Yeah. So
you're right. You're probably not going to get rid of the administrator.
No,
I got to do the work.
He's like the king on his throne.
Yeah.
We're going back to real old times where the king was.
It's good to be king.
Well, it was, and the old kingdoms were built around loyalty to the king. You were part of whichever kingdom you were loyal to, whichever king, and that was his job. Somebody else ran the place.
Yeah,
right. Exactly.
It's not like the president is a different type of.
Well, where does the common council fit in, George? I mean, you're increasing
rubber stamp.
Now, yeah, that's kind of what it is. But we've discussed it at length what the Common Council is supposed to do. We gave you a little introduction to the budget document. Now there's another 200-300 pages that we could discuss that we're not going to discuss now.
Yeah, because it's Monday.
Yeah, but it's there and it's coming out, and I think that in the future we should bring out some things.
Yeah, no, I agree. And there's a lot in that budget, and we're going to learn more as we go.
Well, it's fascinating stuff, folks. It really is, because it's your money and it's our money, and we really ought to know who's spending it and what they're spending it on. So,
That'd be nice.
Yeah, we'll give you as much information as we can, and we'll invite you to go ahead and dig into the budget, man. If you're prone to being able to do that kind of stuff, please do, and we would love to have you come on and talk about it if you've got some strong opinions and insights that we ourselves haven't developed here.
That'd be really great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because all we're looking at is numbers.
Yeah.
Now, some of it, I've got a little more in-depth experience with it at the street level, but most of it I don't.
Right.
You know, and neither do any of us. But other people do in other parts of it, and let's talk about
it.
those.
So there's that.
Fire department,
and I want to
department.
re-invite you to come to the debate on Tuesday night, the 23rd of October. And with that, we're going to close off for this Monday morning. Thank you for being here, and we'll look forward to talking with you again next week.